everyone. There's no one in here yet, but welcome to Entrepreneur Chit-Chat, episode 2. And I have a very special guest coming on here today, and I'm super excited to have her on. So, if you may know already, this is a series called Entrepreneur Chit-Chat, where I basically interview other entrepreneurs and activists and other young people, older people, basically anyone that I think would be a cool person to interview about their company. I have them on. So Miss Grace is here, and want her to. But I'm super excited, and I am ready for this fun interview today. Hi,
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing good. I've been at the Forbes Women's Summit all morning, so I'm feeling inspired and
Yeah, totally. I mean, I would be too. Um, so thank you so much, first of all, for coming on the live today and being a part of my series.
of course, thank you for having me.
Yes. So obviously, to start off, could you introduce yourself and give your name, your age, and some of the cool stuff that you have been doing in your life?
Yes, so I'm Grace Wethor. I'm a 19-year-old entrepreneur and actress, and I'm based in Los Angeles, California. About a year and a half ago, I founded Gray, which is a luxury marketing, media, and holding company. So basically, we focus on creating high fashion content. We produce books, films, series, projects, as well as investing in luxury companies. So I get to work with some really cool companies within the fashion industry. Just get to hang out with a lot of cool people and do what I love every day. So I'm very, very grateful.
That's incredible. And so I know you touched on your company, but if you could go a little bit more in depth into, you know, what it does, and how people can see it, get involved, um, and everything about Gray. Am I saying it right?
Yeah, gray, like the color. So yeah, Gray focuses on mainly entertainment, and we create different projects throughout the year. So our most recent project is the Young Hollywood Project. Basically, we interviewed and photographed 30 young people who are making change within the entertainment. I'm very big on advocacy and standing up for what you believe in, as well as combining that with your passions, which for me is fashion and entertainment. So we, highlighted these kids. It came into a book series, and it'll hopefully be now every year. I don't know what's happening with the pandemic, but we focus on helping companies rebrand, become the best they can in the industry and be a part of the conversation. We really focus on using your words and your platform. So we work with a lot of companies to rebrand social media, to find the best strategy to reach their clients and to get involved online. And then as well as the investment side of things, which is, a lot more technical, actually investing in these companies and becoming a part of the actual business strategy that they go through. So it's a little confusing. People don't usually understand what we do to the extent, but I always say, we create content and then we also invest to help these companies on a larger.
That's awesome. That's really incredible. And it's a very mature company. And obviously, you are older than I am, but you're very young. And so to have kind of that more elevated and really elaborate business plan is really incredible for someone at such a young age. I mean, I make candy, so as much as that is, there's a lot of science behind it. There's definitely a very mature, sophisticated aspect to your company, and I feel like that really, shows through on your Instagram and your pages. So it's very cool. I love your aesthetic for not only your brand but yourself. Um, so my next question is, you've done a lot of different things, from acting and hosting and speaking and, obviously being an activist. So what really drew you to business? And when did you decide that you wanted to start your company?
Yeah, so I have always been someone who likes to be more involved than, just one little bit. I love the whole creative process and seeing it from beginning to end. That's really why I fell in love with film in the beginning, was to get to be a part of, you know, pre-production and then going into production and seeing how everything's created and then editing and then putting out this final product. I really realized that there's so much more to it than just acting or just being the host on camera for that 30 seconds during that commercial break, at an award show. And so when I was turning 18, there was conversation around me investing in companies for the first time because that was something I was able to do now. So Gray was originally supposed to be just a holding company to hold these shares of these companies that we purchased. But I realized that there was so much more that I wanted to do, so many people that I wanted to work with and help give a platform in any way I could. And so I also realized there was a lot of projects I was doing anyways, and I was just doing them kind of as my own entity. I was, involved in producing a lot of films and filming things, being involved in brand social media just as myself. And so I think it was just all perfect timing. I was starting to build this portfolio of work with companies that I was really starting to love the work that we were producing. And it was time for me to start investing, in myself. And so it kind of just perfectly met and came together. And Gray was, once we had the idea and once I was clear on what we wanted to do, it was a very, very quick process because everything was kind of already happening. So it just felt like the natural, correct thing to do.
Yeah, yeah, that's really awesome. And I feel like as someone that has, like I said, that kind of mature outlook on, I want to start investing, I want to start being a part of every aspect. I think that's something that a lot of people that go into, the entertainment industry kind of miss. They like to see, they like to be on set. They like to see the behind the scenes. And I think viewers also really like to see that kind of stuff. Um, but they do miss out on kind of the creative process that goes into, what is this episode going to be about? What is this commercial going to be about? And I think, as that being something that I'm interested in as well, I can definitely see the appeal of being, a part of that whole process. Um, so, I'm sure there's been a lot of really cool and rewarding parts of not only your company, but just all of your experiences in general. What would you say the most rewarding experience of your job is?
I think for me, the most rewarding thing is getting to combine all of my passions into one place. For me, with my past, for people who don't know, I'm currently fighting a brain tumor. And so for me, just standing up for the things that I believed in was always very important to me, and fashion was just what I gravitated towards. So to be able to combine things that I love together and hopefully make a difference in other people's lives, that for me is extremely rewarding. To get to work with young people who want to see change. I think there's a long way to go, but I think we're definitely going in the right direction within the entertainment industry. So to get to work with these young people who truly believe in doing good and using our platforms for good, that means so much to me. So it's a very exciting process. Every day I wake up and I get to think of something new, and I get to work on films and write books, and those are just all things that I would love to do on my free time anyways. So it gets to be a part of a company that we've built from the ground up. It means so much to me, and we have so many exciting things happening and in the works right now. So every day, just to get to wake up and do what I love, that's really the best thing. And I hope that's forever.
Yeah, and I think that's a really great message that it's not about the glamour. It's not about, oh, meeting this celebrity or going to this event. It's just about doing something that you're passionate about, which can change and can manifest in different ways and in different places of your life. Um, and as always, if you guys watching have questions, put them in the chat or in the Q&A. Doesn't really matter. I don't really know how to use Instagram that well, so wherever you want to ask your question, we will definitely try to answer them. And so I know for me, running a company is definitely a tough feat, especially, with being, a teenager. And, you're an adult, but I'm sure, as you've been growing this company, you've definitely seen the struggles of time management on top of all the other things that you're doing. You've been, or I don't know if you've finished or if you're in the process of directing a film right now, which has been really cool to see the behind the scenes on your social media, which of course everyone go follow Grace and her company. So how do you balance being, an entrepreneur and a speaker and an activist and an actor, and really all of the incredible things that you're doing?
The short answer is it's hard, as you said. I think for me, health always comes first. That's hard to remember, but with my background, that's obviously number one, because if I don't feel healthy, I can't do anything I love, and that's when life gets really tough. So I think making sure that I always feel well enough to do what I'm doing to the best of my ability, and that's not every day, and recognizing that if that's not every day, that's okay. I'm someone who likes to work a lot, and I'm always working on a new project. My mom's like, you gotta stop adding things. Focus on what you got right now. But I think for me, my brain's like, oh, we should do this and this and this. And so I think really taking time to focus on those things that are right in front of me, which is a really hard thing to learn, and it's something I think I'll be learning forever. But yeah, I don't have a great answer for that. I think if I can wake up every day, put health first, make sure I get those things done, and I'm feeling well, which is like my whole regimen, then I can go work and I can do well on that, and I can, prioritize my own time. I always try to take weeks off in between projects. As you mentioned, I'm working on a film right now, which has been a completely new feat for me to tackle. I've never, directed something on this scale before. So making sure that there's time off in between that production process it's hard to step away from it when you love what you do every day. So I try to focus on health, go away, come back, and do everything to the best of my ability instead of doing it like halfway.
Yeah, that's important, and that's really important for. Doesn't matter if it's business. It doesn't matter if it's, pursuing a career in acting or, the entertainment industry or really any sort of degree or field that you want to go into. It's important to have that balance and, taking that time for yourself and to not, overwork yourself because, at the end of the day, burnout is not what you want. And then you can't, like you said, you can't do anything. And so to pace yourself is key. And I think a lot of people, when they find something that they're passionate about, they just want to go all in and they want to work all the time. And, if you move too fast, you might miss it. So that's another aspect. You want to slow down and enjoy the ride, but also, obviously get things done. So how has, your journey with brain cancer, how has this made you a better entrepreneur? I know obviously, it's made you very strong, and, very eloquent. But, what are some of the ways that it really has enhanced your entrepreneurial skills?
Yeah, and I saw someone in the comments say they wanted me to elaborate a little bit on my health background, so I'll just do that right now. But so when I was 13 years old, I was diagnosed with a brain stem glioma, which is a tumor in the deepest part of the brain, the pons. And because of the location of my tumor, it's inoperable, and chemotherapy and radiation had a very slim chance of working. So I was sent home with no next medical steps and an 8% chance of survival for 6 months. It was in those 6 months that I realized I had to do something different. I had to start living every day as if it was one of my last, because at the time, that's what it looked like. And I moved to LA and started pursuing everything I loved and doing things to the best of my ability. 6 months turned into a year, into 2, into 3, and it'll be 6 years in January, which I cannot believe. It's crazy. But back to your question, I love this question because I think my brain tumor diagnosis is a large key to my success in business because it gave me a broadened perspective of the world and the people around me. I think when you're diagnosed with something like a brain tumor, all those things that you think were so important, they no longer matter. All those little things like the science test or the drama at school or just those things don't matter anymore. And you start seeing people for their hardships, and you start seeing people for their character and who they really are at the end of the day. And so I think going into business, it allowed me to step back and not look at people as only clients, but look at people as people. And I think that's something that a lot of people have a hard time in business because you're focused solely on sales. And I'm really lucky to have a company that's not focused only on sales. We're focused on creating our own content as well, which makes my job a little bit easier. And I don't have to make so many tough calls. But to be able to have this, broadened perspective of the world, it makes things a lot harder sometimes because I'm a very empathetic person, and it makes things a little difficult in business. But I think having that perspective is what has led to me being successful, especially in the entertainment industry. So I think a lot of people are able to, I think I'm able to connect better with people. And I think that for my business is the key. So, yeah.
Yes. I 100% agree with everything you just said. And in my world too, it's all about connecting with people, connecting with buyers, connecting with families, connecting with our audience in a way that's not just like, here's some product, buy some product, but here's a product that could help you. Here's a product that, you can benefit from, you can share with people, and that, literally, protects your teeth. It keeps you smiling. So, it's just, that connection, and that outlook on, really wanting to, be the most authentic and live your life to the fullest is something that I completely agree with. And I think, it's something that not a lot of people figure out even in their lifetime, that those small things just don't really matter. But you've managed to figure it out, at such a young age, and then also, take that and not just figure it out, but turn it into, a positive, something that you can, build something off of. And I think that is really inspiring and really incredible. So now I have some fun questions. Always, this is only the second episode of the show, but I like to, show that entrepreneurs aren't just, people on a billboard or people on, their Instagram page in a photo, but they're real people that like to do things other than just business. And I know that you have talked about some of your hobbies outside of business, but what would you say, your favorite hobbies outside of work include?
I'm not a very good example for what you just said because, for me, I think my business is so much of what I love. Like my favorite hobby is just like sitting and watching films and getting inspired. I try to pick a new film like out of my comfort zone all the time because for me, it's actually quite ruined how I watch television. But it's okay because I love it. I watch film with an eye of a director now, which is not something I meant to do. It's now hard to be entertained. But I see the camera movements and, I see the changes in the script and the fade outs and the editing. Just to watch that and sit and get inspired is so great for me because out of films, I think, come stories, come connections, come ideas, because they are just a captured version of random people's lives. And so I think to be able to sit and watch different people's stories and meet new people every day, that's just like the best thing ever, especially with the pandemic. I can't be outside meeting new people all the time. Films are a way to connect with humans and with our world and with these stories and things that are important. So I love watching movies. What else do I do? I try to go figure skating sometimes. I grew up a huge figure skater. I'm from Minnesota. There's like an ice rink like 20 minutes away from my house. I don't do it anymore because of the pandemic, but I try to go skating. I walk a lot. I love walking.
Me too. People in my neighborhood think I'm a middle-aged housewife. I'm always like power walking, but I feel that.
For me, walking is when I get my best ideas. And like we were talking about earlier, that downtime and stepping away from it, that's when I think the projects really come. It's always in those times where I am like, I'm out of ideas. I'm out of things to do. My to-do list is not possible right now. I need to step away from it. And that's when I just kind of go out and do something that is not business. That's usually, for me, I just love going to like vintage stores and just looking at things because, again, those spark stories and show people's lives. And that's when I think the best ideas come. It's how I wrote my first book. It's how the Young Hollywood Project came. So I think, you can't. I love this. The other day I was at the Writers Guild Foundation Summit, and they were like, this is hard because this is one of the only careers that you can't force. You can force manual labor. You're so tired, you can still paint a fence, but you cannot force your brain to work. You can't force creativity. You can't force ideas. And so I think recognizing that and stepping away from work is when the good things really come. So I love watching other people's films. I love going outside and just kind of forgetting everything I'm trying to accomplish right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can't force passion either. You have to love what you're doing. And I completely agree with you. I think that's, another thing that we have in common is that I'm a competition dancer and you're an ice skater. So it's fun to make those, personal connections. Yeah, we both like business. Yeah, we both like fashion. I love fashion. And your Instagram and your like total aesthetic, I love it. Before I even considered having this show, before I even I was introduced to your page by I think Jax Malcolm.
Oh yeah.
Maybe.
I'm in here.
And so I feel like that was like that's how I knew of you, but like throughout that I had always really admired like your sense of style and your aesthetic, and I was like, ooh, love that. Like I have to jump on that train. So I definitely feel like, it's cool to find those similarities within people that even work within the same fields. So I have two more questions for you. The next one is, what is your favorite travel destination? I see that you have traveled quite a bit. And this is something that I like to ask people that are well traveled, because there's a lot of great choices.
I think for me, favorite travel destination is probably London. There's just so much happening there. I love London Fashion Week because for me, it's a little bit more grounded in streetwear. Like Paris is very out there when it comes to Fashion Week. But I love London. My manager, Untitled Entertainment, they have a location there. Vogue has a location there. So I'm lucky to get to go there. This last London Fashion Week was like incredible. It was so cool. My Instagram, I was like, this is the best I've ever done. But I just love that city because I think there is so much fashion, but it is kind of hidden, and it's done in a really unique way. So I just love it there. It's like New York, but like in at the same time. So I feel like I'm probably going to end up there. We say technically that Gray is based LA, New York, and London. So we'll probably end up having an office there eventually. I'll probably live there for a while too. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, really when you find someplace that's, really inspiring and at all angles, from a work angle, from, a personal angle, it's somewhere you want to stay. I can definitely agree with that. I think it's my dance like background that I love, like the I don't want to say costuming because that might be offensive, but the extravagance of Paris Fashion Week and everything, surrounding that very, elegant yet modern look is something that I love. And that's why, if you were to ask me, I would say Paris, but this isn't about me. This is about you. And so my last...
I have not... No, I've only been there for one fashion week, I think. So I'm hopefully going to get to go back after this is all over.
Yes. I think that would be the thing that I would most that I've most missed during the pandemic. I'm from Michigan, and so as it gets colder and colder here, and Minnesota, as it gets colder and colder, it is not the most fun place to be. Just waiting for a little bit of snow. It's just barren and cold. So my last and final question, um, what is your favorite like brand and aesthetic? So I know you have kind of the black and white theme going on your Instagram, which I love. I'm a little bit of the opposite. I am pretty bright, pretty vibrant from a color palette standpoint, but I'm curious of your favorite brands, anything that you think we should all purchase this season.
I feel like I'm so biased because of the brands that we invest in. But
Sure.
for me, the first one that comes to mind, it sounds so cliche, but I feel like it's so much more than that, is Louis Vuitton. It was the first brand that we invested in at Gray. And I think I was I went to one of their LV Series 3 events in London. And to see the whole process of this brand from trunks way back when, and the process of travel, and how they weren't necessarily always for style, they were for functionality. And then seeing how that trunk, turned into a brand that women wore, and then it turned into a streetwear brand that Virgil Abloh is a part of. And I think to see this transformation of this brand and see how it's lasted all these years is just, I just love brand heritage and history and the stories behind everything. That's really why I love fashion and why I love, there's a story behind everything you wear. It's so cliche. It's like in The Devil Wears Prada. She's like, no, this is not blue. There's a whole story behind this blue and how it came to be here. And so I think everything we wear, it tells a story whether we want it to or not. And I think Louis Vuitton is a really good example of that story and of that brand heritage and how it develops into a 21st century brand that is wearable on the street and wearable for multiple demographics. We're reaching all the way from hype beast, teen kids on the internet to more classic, elegant looks that are worn at the Met Gala. It's just this full spectrum, and that's why I think I love them so much and what it means to be a part of Louis Vuitton. I just think there's so many, cool and upcoming designers. We were looking at Heaven Can Wait yesterday. That's by an Instagrammer. I don't know much about it, but I thought that was cool. That was what we were looking at this morning. There's so many. We were just part of the Carlisle group. That was our latest investment, which is Supreme, which is very exciting for me because I'm a big fan. So yeah, I think all brands tell incredible stories, but definitely Louis Vuitton is kind of just a top classic. Aesthetic. I think, like you were saying, I think I'm a little different in real life as well. It definitely depends on the day. I think so much of my company, oh, there's an alarm going off. One second.
Well, I'll let her tend to that. But oh, okay, you're back. She's back. Perfect.
The aesthetics of the company, I think, are kind of different than my daily life. Like you were saying, you're very colorful. My apartment, I just redid my house, and now it's all like jewel tones. Okay. Are you on TikTok? Because I'm on TikTok, and I'm on Green Kitchen TikTok. I'm not TikTok, but I'm on Kitchen TikTok, which has kind of changed my personal taste recently, especially in the pandemic. So I ordered a lot of stuff online, and now my apartment is all like jewel tones and greens and pinks, and I have the paint to paint my kitchen green, but I'm too scared to do it. But I think for Gray, the aesthetic is, it is more of like this monotone black and white, and that really helps us tell the brand stories because we're working with brands that are all different types and all different shapes and sizes. So to have companies like Vuitton, which is a handbag company that we work with, which is more colorful and marketed towards a more youthful audience, and then to have companies like Nicole Sassman, which is just like a lot more refined and it's focused on art. I think to be able to showcase all of those in their best light, we have to take more of a neutral stance. And that's, for us is Gray and is kind of that gray scale. But I've also fallen in love with the company, and it's just the most me. I wouldn't have marketed it or chose to kind of brand it in any other way. This is kind of where I've been for a while. I worked with Nickelodeon for a long time, so my Instagram is very colorful. And as I grew, it kind of just turned into this kind of thing and just rolled with it. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting how, the most natural uh things, really can create something really beautiful. Um and I really I appreciate the aesthetic even more because, now I know, that the intention behind it, and that's really meaningful. And obviously, you talked a lot about finding the story behind things. And that's, one of the reasons that I love uh, interviewing other entrepreneurs, is because I love to know the story.
Yeah.
And you know, it's one thing to buy the product off the shelf and say, okay, it's a good product, or to follow your brand page um, on Instagram, or on any other social media, on your website. But to know the story, it brings a new respect. Um, and I think that it's really special.
Everything has a story, whether people choose to share it or not. And I think that's something I really try to focus on in business and life. Walking down the street, I don't look like someone who is fighting a brain tumor. And I try to remember that in my interactions with everybody. Because if people don't choose to share their stories, we may never know them. And we don't know what other people are going through because we can't see inside their brains. And so I think from a business perspective, like I was saying earlier, making sure that story is integrated into the business, I think is just really key towards understanding the people you work with and the customers and the clients. Because there's a lot that we don't see on a daily basis. You see, like you were saying, you see an Instagram picture with a filter that matches all these other filters, but behind that is hours of work and someone helping me, curate that. And there's the shoots and all work on the set. And there's just so much that goes into every aspect of a brand to create that overall entity. I think that's why Vuitton and companies like that are so fascinating, is there's such a story and literal history within these companies that people are like, oh, this is a purse. I'm like, no, that's not a purse. That's hours of creativity and thought and sitting and making that purse by hand. It's so much more than just a bag or something you scan at a register. It is people's lives. And that's why I think this is so fascinating. And the fashion industry specifically, so fascinating to me and so incredible.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I love looking at the history in my industry, obviously being candy. There's so much history in the candy industry. You see these big brands that are alive and thriving today, that they haven't changed their product line. It's the same stuff that they've been selling for, 20, 30, 40 years. But, seeing the history and meeting, I got to meet Mr. Peeps, so the owner of Peeps. And so it's just like that stuff, which I'm sure for you is like, meeting the designers of these big brands. And it's interesting to see, like you said, everything does have history. And even brands that are newer, like, my company has only been selling for about 5 years, but there's already history with that. There's already history with me, starting it from a young age. There's already history from, all throughout that journey and that story. And that's really special. And I think that, that's something that, you opened my eyes today, that there truly is history with all of that. But I wanted to thank you so much for coming on here today. I really appreciated it. And yeah, I mean, I would love to, obviously, I'll reach out, but I would love to, collab again in the future. And obviously, I'll be following your journey to see all the incredible things that the future holds for you.
Yeah, hopefully post pandemic something can. I'm just ready, to get back out there and like start doing things. Like even the Forbes Summit today is on all digital, so I think hopefully we'll get to go out in person and start networking again, meeting people. But this was lovely. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. And I definitely, I am out in LA all the time. Are you in California? Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Well, I hope to meet soon. But for now, thank you so much. And everyone watching, keep smiling. And of course, go follow Grace and Gray on Instagram and follow their journey.
Thank you.
Bye.